Operating times for turf and plant material can greatly vary depending on the kind of heads that's installed. If you have large throwing turf heads, typically those are operating from 25 to 45 minutes, all depending on coverage and the season that it is. Mist heads are typically active for 10 to 25 minutes, again, all depending on coverage as well as the season that it is. Once proper germination has been achieved with the plant material as well as with the sod, you can actually cut back on the watering times. Typically leave your operating times, whether it be 45 minutes per zone, keep those times about the same. However, reduce the amount of days. Typically during installation of the summer months, we have a lot of the irrigation zones running every day throughout the week. However, after the plant material and the sod has actually taken root, you can reduce that watering schedule down to 3 to 4 times a week, all depending on the weather conditions. Even though your lawn may be brown and such during the winter, the root system is still very much active. It's just a little bit more slow growing. Please continue to water throughout the winter months, typically about twice a week, in order to have a great lawn with the following spring. Typically the best time to water is 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. That's all because of the natural dew cycle. If you actually extend that natural dew cycle, you're promoting more water to actually be developed onto the turf and to the plant material, what actually can lead to fungus growth and a headache for your landscape. All depending on the season, typically it's a little bit better to water with a longer span with a less amount of days per week. Therefore, it's better to allow 3 days a week with 45-minute intervals rather than doing 15 minutes a day for 7 days a week. Please keep in mind that your turf grass has actually been cut out of a field, stacked on a pallet, transported to your job location, and then actually hand tossed or hand laid onto the ground at your home. Due to all the handling, it can lead to a little bit of stress. This is why we tend to water frequently in order to get a proper germination rate. Now, keep in mind, due to the neighboring landscape may look a little bit better, please keep in mind that their lawn has more than likely been in place for that 30 to 45 day window, and proper fertilizers have probably been applied throughout the process in order to get that green, lush lawn. Prior to your first cut, it's always better to walk out into the lawn and give a slight little tug to the grass. If the grass actually begins to come up, the full piece of sod, give it a few more, give it a little while longer before coming out with the lawnmower. If you come out while the sod is not yet rooted in, it can actually lift the sod up and into the lawnmower blade and greatly damage the sod. We actually do not cover any kind of warranty, just due to, especially with the irrigation system, we found a lot of homeowners actually go out and will tamper with the system a little. If there was an issue with the irrigation system that we actually did, whether it was the workmanship of it, then we'll actually come out and make repairs to it. However, I can tell you 95% of the time is due to a homeowner, whether they ran over it or they were installing something in the yard and they punctured a pipe or broke a head or ran over it or installed a fence and hit piping throughout it. As I kind of touched base on throughout the video, we actually go through the irrigation system at least 3 times on every single yard. So we shouldn't have any sort of issues with that. Fringe drain is a really common drain that we install, mainly due to subgrade water conditions that are uncontrolled, typically due to spring. What we actually do is we'll typically, all depending on the water volume that's within the lot, the most common size drain that we install is a 12-inch wide by 14-inch deep French drain with a 4-inch corrugated pipe. What we actually do is install 4 inches of 57 gravel, install the 4-inch corrugated sock pipe with gravel on the exterior plus 4 more inches on top of the pipe, with the installation of 2 inches of topsoil or a sandy based soil on top of the drain, then the installation with the sod. Just keep in mind with any sort of French drain, you don't want to come in and add any sort of clay on top of the drain. What this is going to do is actually lead to your drain being very ineffective due to the permeability reasons of clay. Clay doesn't allow a lot of water to actually go through, therefore it's going to render your French drain a little useless.